So, got a little confrontation. Of course, this is a vlog, so got to do the vloggy thing and talk about off-grid living. Just came out of this hard freeze where we were in those negative temperatures, and we survived it quite well. Now we're getting ready to go back into some pretty cold temperatures. Right today it's above freezing, and yesterday was above freezing, but tonight it's going to get back down to single digits. It's not going to get back to below 0 degrees, so we'll be doing much better. Yesterday I told you that we got our water tank hooked back up to our water heater, and that fared pretty well. So the whole plan was, I think I told you yesterday, was we disconnected the RV pump from the IBC tank and from the house because we just assumed it was going to freeze. We didn't even risk it. And so yesterday I was able to hook both of those things back up, and now we have water running. I put some styrofoam. This came out of that camper that we bought. We was going to throw it away, but I figured it would help insulate a little bit, and I think it's helping. So a little added layer of insulation, and I can store that away when we don't need it. These cold temperatures, it's a little bit harder than normal having to deal with, but I don't want anybody to think it's hard. It wasn't hard. One of the things, of course, we use a little bit more firewood. We use about 3 logs total per day. Then during this cold snap, we were using 5 total. When we got our firewood, we split it to the size of an old Franklin wood stove that we had down there by the camper. Wasn't sure what we were going to get when we moved up here, but when we got up here, the logs were too big, so we split them. We sit up here with the little hatchet. I mean, they're already split. I don't want you to think but we have to split them more. So we sit up here with a little hatchet and a hammer, and we split them even further, and then we test each piece that goes into the house to make sure it's 20% or less moisture content. Something I want to mention about this again, a lot of people ask about the window. When I'm sitting in front of the wood stove, it's very clean. And I know what you're talking about. I see YouTubers all the time sitting in front of their wood stove, and they're talking about how they got dry firewood. Well, no, they don't have dry firewood. If their window is dirty and it's stained, it's because creosote is attaching to the window and it's hard to get off. If you burn 20% or less moisture content firewood, you're not producing any creosote, so it's not staining the window. It'll put a little dust on it that you can easily wipe off. If you do get a little wet piece in there, because it does happen to me occasionally, especially when it's snowing, so what we do is we set our firewood in the house and we let it sit for about a week in the house so that wood stove can dry it off, the snow and the rain. But occasionally we get a little wet one in there and it will darken, not blacken, but give it a little of a tinted look to it. So all you gotta do is just take a wet cloth or a wet wipe or something like that, put a little bit of ash on it and wipe it off. It'll come right off. I mean, it's just like magic. We're having to keep up with the wood burn. It's like I said, we try to keep a week's worth of wood in there so it'll dry off. But when we get down to these colder temperatures, you know, it's a tiny house, so we don't have a lot of storage space for a lot of firewood. And so since we're using more, we're going through it quicker. So we're not always getting a week's worth in there during these colder temperatures. We're gonna probably buy an electric log splitter this summer. You can get them from Harbor Freight. And I think they're, if I recall, they're like $300. I don't think they're any more than $500. Now, they're not the strongest thing in the world, and they're not gonna, well, actually, I've seen YouTube videos where they've put some huge rounds on these little things and we're able to split it, but it's not designed for lots of big stuff. But as much firewood as we go through that we have to split sitting here, I'm thinking maybe we'll get one of these electric ones. And now that we have the power to run it, because we have that bigger inverter now, we have the extra solar panel, the extra charge controller, and I've actually made an extension cord that reaches all the way up here to the house so I could charge the battery on the truck. I can just plug that inverter into the log splitter. See, here's my wire that I ran, and I can just sit up here and split the firewood, carry it in the house. And I got an old bathtub that was here when the trailer was still here. Of course, we had to take the trailer down. But there's an old bathtub you might see down here. And I'll just cover that electric log splitter with that bathtub. That'll keep it dry, and then when we want to split some firewood, go. And the thing is it wouldn't take long. On a sunny day like this, you could split, I don't know, a lot in a short amount of time. So we wouldn't have to do it every day like we do now. We have to split wood every day. Our systems are getting better all the time. We bought that wash machine. I told you about that wash machine, which is really handy because if you think about it, last year when we froze up, we couldn't do laundry. I mean, we could do laundry, but Carolyn would have to wash it by hand, and we got a limited number of buckets, and we were bringing buckets into the house so she could do laundry. Well, with the wash machine, what we decided to do was just hold off on the laundry until the temperatures got back up to a reasonable temperature so we could hook that tank back up to the house. So today we did one load of laundry, and then tomorrow we'll do another load of laundry. And the reason we're doing it that way is because I wanted to fill that tank up. One way that we keep the tank warm is we continuously fill the tank, because the water's coming out of here about 54 degrees out of the well. Let's say the tank gets down to 32 degrees, which was where it was at. So it was getting close to, yeah, it actually had some ice floating in it. Put the 54 degrees in there, let the tank get down about halfway when we did the laundry today. Fill it back up. Then tomorrow, because it's going to get down to 6 degrees tonight, it's going to be 15 degrees tomorrow. I'll do the same thing. We'll do another load of laundry, fill it back up, and that'll warm it up. That'll get us through these 3 days. It's going to be really cold. Now, the nice thing is we lucked out. It's going to be sunny today and tomorrow, both days that we have to run the well, so I don't have to run the generator. We're getting better at this all the time. And I think this is the big key to living this life, is just continuously improving your situation. It's not like our situation was ever bad in the past, but it's much better now. And we're learning so much. For example, the water in the tank doesn't get that cold. Even in these sub-zero temperatures, the tank still was relatively warm. I don't think we ever got below 32 degrees in that tank. Around the tank, the ambient air temperature got down to 27 degrees. If I understand all this stuff, I can work the situation even better. So like I said, we got some more solar panels over the summertime. We got 2 extra solar panels. We bought an extra charge controller. I put the solar panels up on the roof here. I don't do that during the summer, but in the wintertime, I was having a hard time with the sun hitting the trees, and I wasn't getting any sun for the longest time. In the fall time, I should say, not the winter. So I put them up there. That way I can get sun earlier in the day, earlier in the morning. And later in the evening, because it sets quite early too behind the trees. So as soon as summer comes, I'll set them back on the ground because they stay cooler on the ground. Today when I ran the well, I was getting exactly 50 amps, which is perfect. That's exactly what we need. Now, I've told you that we have a couple generators, and a lot of people don't think that we live off grid because we have generators. And I've given this a lot of thought recently. I fundamentally just disagree with this mindset that I can't have a generator. My definition of off grid was I didn't want to hook up to the power companies. I mean, I got an email one time just cussing me out, just absolutely cussing me out, telling me that I don't live off grid. I got too many things I depend on. I won't give up some things that I'm thinking, dude, you sit in your mom's basement drinking beer all night long, screaming at the old lady upstairs to get you some food. You probably weigh 9,000 pounds, and I'm the one that's not doing it the way you think I should do it. Well, so I have a generator. So I have 2 of them. I have that Champion 2,000 or 2,500 watt, I should say, dual fuel generator. That's up there by the well. And I try to run it off propane mainly. That way I don't have to put gas in it. When you put gas in it, then you got to drain the gas out. It doesn't run that often. I've been only running it maybe every 2 months, 3 months. You got to drain the gas out of it or put stabilizer in it or something. But if you're running on propane, you don't even have to worry about it. So I think that per BTU, whatever, how do you want to calculate it? Gas is more efficient. It actually has more power on gas than it does on propane. When you use it on propane, the power of it drops. I don't need that much power. Usually I'm just running a well or something. Now, this thing here, I bought this on a kind of a whim. We had a 2,000 watt Champion generator, and it finally died after years of use. And I didn't want to go out and buy another Champion because I didn't need one because I had the dual fuel. But I didn't want to run the dual fuel all the time. But this thing was like less than $300. And it's a Power Smart. You can buy these at Walmart or off Amazon, I think. I don't know, maybe even Harbor Freight. I'm not sure, but they're everywhere. There's two of them. This one's an inverter generator. And then there's one that runs off fuel mix, oil, gasoline mix. That's not an inverter. That is supposedly the cheapest one on the internet. I think in some cases they have them on sale for like 99 bucks. Lots of good reviews on them. But this one is an inverter, and it's much cleaner energy. On that other one, you can see the hertz going all over the place. This one, all the YouTube reviews I've seen shows it that it's a very stable, clean energy. It's 1,500 watts, but that's at peak. I'm going to be honest, it doesn't run the freezer or the refrigerator. I was a little shocked by that. I really felt like it should. I have a 1,000 watt inverter that runs the entire house. I would have thought this would have ran the fridge, but it doesn't. But that's okay, that's not why I bought it. I bought it to run the battery chargers. So on a cloudy day, I can start this up, charge battery chargers, and I can run two battery chargers actually off this. One at 25 amps, the other one at 10 amps. So that's 35 amps, which is about 15 amps less than what the solar panels can produce off those two charge controllers. So if I want to run like the well and I need a generator, I can charge the batteries. So just hook the battery chargers up, turn the well on. As long as the batteries have some juice in it, it can keep up with the well for a little while. That way I don't have to pull the Champion out to do it. This thing has been pretty amazing. It just sips gas. It really doesn't use a lot of gas. It's been pretty, I'm really kind of astonished by it. It starts every time. I keep the oil changed. Every time I use a 5-gallon jug of gas, I change the oil. I figure that's about 50 hours. And it starts on the first pull every time. Well, until it doesn't. Got down to these cold temperatures. I was telling you how I got in a conflict with somebody. Well, this is the somebody. So I come down here, and it's not hard. You just pull out the choke. There's a little wire here. You pull the choke out, and you turn it on, and you start it. You just pull the rope right here. And it always starts on the first one. Well, I mean, it was hard to pull. Ugh! And I could hear the generator say, "Hey, what are you doing?" It was mad. I said, "Okay, sorry." And so I pull here. He was upset. Pulled it a third time, and it started. And he said, "Give me a minute." So I left the choke out. I don't know. Let's just call it 30 seconds. Pushed the choke back in, and I plugged it in and went, "I said, give me a minute." So I started again, left the choke out for probably a good minute, and it sounded like it was going to die the whole time. Pushed it back in, and it did fine. In all honesty, this was easier to start than the Champion dual fuel on propane. Last year, I tried to start it when it was negative temperatures. I had to bring it in to warm it up. I didn't even try to start at negative temperatures this time. We did run the generator off the Champion this past freeze, when it got below zero. I just brought it in, let it sit in the house for an hour before. I didn't even try it, and then I brought it back out and started it. But this one, I mean, 3 pulls, 4 pulls, I forget what it was. It's not bad. And it's got a metal tank on it, holds less than a gallon. And I get about 8 hours on it, just regular run time. I push it pretty hard running those 2 battery chargers. So I get about 6 hours on it, which still is pretty astonishing for a tank that has less than a gallon in it. The air filter, easy to get to. It pops right out here. Oh, the filter is actually right here, but the cover, I really like this. And if you're not looking to power a bunch of stuff, this is amazing. I don't know what else I would actually use it for other than the battery chargers. You couldn't take it camping. It's pretty noisy compared to the Champion. I mean, maybe if you're out there by yourself, it wouldn't be a bad idea. When we were traveling, there was a lot of people that had really noisy generators, so I don't know how big of a deal it makes anymore. It runs power tools okay. I think I ran a Sawzall on it. It's easy to carry. Somebody told me I needed to carry one of those jumper cable things that you plug into your cigarette lighter, because I take this with me. If I think the battery's gonna struggle on the truck, I just throw this in the back of the truck with a battery charger. Why go out and buy another useless piece of junk when I already have something and it's light enough I can throw it in the truck? So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was showing you that we got everything hooked back up. So I hope I can inspire you to work through your problems when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.